Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another very special, as always, episode of the Hyperconscious Podcast. Alan and I were lucky enough to sit down again with Kathryn, Mini But Mighty Nash. We went to her house and we sat down and talked about her growth. We sat down with her 6 months ago and she has come miles since then.
She has hit a huge exponential growth spurt. We wanted to start bringing people on the podcast, old guests that we've had, to show that thoughts become things. Things that we talked about on the last episode are now her living, breathing reality. She's come such a long way in terms of wealth creation, chasing her dreams. She's now moving down to Florida. She went from 40,000 Instagram followers to now, I believe, 150,000.
Yeah.
She's next level, man.
So when Alan says wealth creation, she went from making $4 an hour as a bartender to on pace for six figures from Instagram. So if you want to learn about making money from Instagram, this is a great episode for you.
Great rep. Shout out to you, Kathryn. You've come such a long way. Thanks again for coming on the show. You are living, breathing proof of what conversations can do, changing lives. Enjoy.
Enjoy. No. Geographically? Geographically. This is cool. So I would say make sure that pretty face is showing.
Yes, true.
They're going to want to see that thing. They're going to want to see that thing, Alan. That face. You good? Ready? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another very special, as always, episode of the Hyperconscious Podcast. Today we have a guest that we had on episode number 20, and the fact that I remember that, proud of myself because I usually don't remember the episodes. Kathryn, Mini But Mighty Nash.
Hello.
How are you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
I am living the dream. So we were talking beforehand about the changes that you have made over the past 5 or 6 months. You are a completely different person. You are doing all sorts of dream chasing. You're a full-time dream chaser now. Mm-hmm. We have had the opportunity and pleasure of getting to know you and spending time with you and going to the gym with you and masterminding with you. And I want to say from the bottom of my heart, I'm super proud of you.
Thank you very much.
And you're killing it.
Thank you.
I also am super, super proud of you.
Thank you, guys.
Seeing how far you've come in such a short time makes me smile.
Clearly.
And you've been doing some really awesome things lately. One thing in particular that we were talking about in the preamble is you just hired a business coach.
Yes.
Which, when we came in, we're like, Kathryn, not everybody does that. Not everyone invests in self. Tell us a little bit about why you did that and how you're thinking about it and what you're excited about it.
All right. Well, I'm trying to think of where to start. So I decided to quit my job in March. I was actually like a part-time waitress / bartender, making like zero money. My goal was to save up for grad school. And ultimately, to go to grad school, I wanted to I wanted to become like the most certified personal trainer and nutrition specialist. And for a year, I tried to save up. So I would, go from job to job. I'm trying to earn enough money just to go to grad school. And I realized, I'm like, what the hell am I doing? Like, social media, I was currently, growing my Instagram. And I'm like, I'm already doing what I'm doing. Like, I'm loving this. If I go to grad school, I won't be able to focus on this Instagram. So I decided to quit my job. I'm like, you know what? I'm going all in. So in about a month, I developed a program, an 8-week challenge, which is pretty much where a bunch of women sign up in 1 week for this program. And by the end of the 8 weeks, I give out 3 prizes for the one who makes the most progress. I started a Facebook support group, and that went really, really well. But, I set my goal pretty high, and I didn't reach that goal. I still did very well. And then I released my next program, and although I made progress, I still was dealing with a lot of stress, a lot of disorganization. I didn't know how to allocate my time wisely in order to be most productive. I've been working like, I don't know if I'm exaggerating, like literally would wake up at like 7 o'clock, work the entire day until like 11 or 12, like at night. And I still felt like I wasn't being that productive.
Yep.
So I, realized I'm like, you know what, like time is so precious. Time is money. So why not just invest in a coach who like already been through it all, who knows the answers to everything? Although like I'm spending like all my money on this, like I know that it's going to pay off. Like I'm paying for accountability. I'm paying for direction and clarity, which is exactly what I need. And like, really taking a step back, I realized I'm like, if I were to keep doing what I'm doing, I don't know how much progress I'm going to make. I will make progress, but I may not, grow as quickly as I want to. You know what I mean? Like I may be putting in so much time working on something that's not going to profit much or help me in the long run. So why not just get that over with now? Because I know a lot of people pay for business coaches like, way down the road. And a lot of like entrepreneurs I know say like the biggest regret was not seeking help in the initial stages. So I wanted to get rid of all that stress, uncertainty, and just go for it, go all in. And I'm still young. I'm only 23. So like if I'm broke now, like I know it's not going to last. So might as well just invest now. So
I love it.
Yeah.
What's it like to go from, at the time, 22 and in debt with just huge dreams, huge goals, huge aspirations, to where you are now 6 months later? You were, like I said, we were just talking in the preamble, you're a different person. You're not the same person you were 6 months ago.
Yeah.
You're not even close.
Yeah.
Your confidence is next level. Everything is next level. What is it like? How do you get from the person who's in debt to the person who, by all stretch of the imagination, you are living your dream life right now? Maybe you don't have the dream car. I say this all the time, the dream house, whatever.
Right.
But you're doing your thing. Now it's about scaling it and doing it. How do you go from being in debt to just saying, you know what, screw it, I'm all in?
I guess all those setbacks and all that stress and like uncertainty when I was working those other jobs, like it just fueled the fire. I realized I'm putting so much time and energy into something I don't want to do. Why not, like, either way, if I work a job I hate versus a job I love, either way I'm going to put in the same energy.
Yeah.
Why not do it towards something you like? You know what I mean? Like, we have the opportunities available. Why not doing something you love? I see so many people doing a job they hate. Although it makes great money, I'm like, all right, so you're making great money doing a job you hate. You're working for the weekends. You're enjoying the weekends, going to the bar. Why not make the same money, if not more, doing something you love? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It may be harder in the initial stages, like all the preparation and figuring out how to get started. That's the hardest part. That's what's going to exert the most energy. But, after you get over that roadblock, it's going to be fluent, just like you're doing your normal day-to-day job. Like right now, I'm like, it's a routine. It's something I developed.
Yeah.
And I'm not, although I'm working long hours, it doesn't feel like I'm putting in like any more work than I would working like a long shift.
And you're working for you.
Exactly.
You're working for, every single thing you do is for you, for your business, for your growth, for your future.
Yeah.
When you're working for somebody else, for the most part, unless you're like a heart surgeon or something like that, yeah, you're saving people, that's awesome. But if you're working a 9 to 5 in a factory, you're working for somebody else and for a paycheck.
Exactly.
You're
Unless
setting your
you
future
love
up.
it.
Unless
you love it.
You
Yeah.
can't impact people like when you're working for someone else.
It's hard.
It is.
It's hard. You impact so many people, especially women. Women flock to you for help because I think it's because you're super relatable and you're very much the same person you portray. Like when we walk in the room, you're the same person you are hammering cereal in your Instagram stories.
Yeah.
So I think that is a testament to you, and I think that it's not a surprise to me that your business is doing well. You're a good person with a good heart, and I think people see that.
And you work super, super hard, too. Kevin and I talk about that all the time. We just see you working so hard, and it's super inspiring.
Thank you so
Yeah,
much,
and I
guys.
think your following feels that way for sure.
Oh, yeah. Why don't you talk, Alan?
Oh, yeah. So that's what I'm going to do. So one of the things that I often say is that optimists believe in themselves and they believe things will go well, so they're willing to kind of put themselves out there and try things because they think it's going to go well. In the preamble, we talked about your first 8-week program and how your goal was $50,000, and you ended up making 15. But what I said to you was what I was so impressed by is that you were failing forward, but 15 grand, it's still more than you would have made if you never tried.
Exactly.
And so you shoot for the stars and you do fall short sometimes. Can you talk a little bit about how it felt prior to launching that program with such a high goal, and talk a little bit about, you messaged Kevin and I basically saying, I'm a little scared, I'm nervous, that anxiety, that fear that you had versus after the fact, realizing even though you didn't hit your goal, you still did it.
Yeah. Well, so prior to launching it, I had zero marketing or business experience. I didn't have any mentors, no business coach, nothing. I was pretty much on my own. So I thought, like, all right, clearly I can't launch this without like having some type of knowledge. So I really, really made it a priority to listen to every audiobook, podcast on Audible regarding marketing and business. So that's what I did. For an entire... I started doing this actually in January, but didn't really start buckling down until I quit my job. I had a solid month, and I would listen to at least one podcast that would help me towards my goal every single day. That's helped me like tremendously. That's yeah, it's boosted my confidence. I felt a lot more capable. But then once I built the program, and once I released it, it was, not as many people as I anticipated signed up. But of course, like, I'm not going to let that get to me. I know this program is the best of the best. I know my stuff. I know that this is going to get people results. And I know that, I could top. I'm not saying this to be cocky. I'm saying, like, I've seen a lot of programs, but, like, I want to make sure that every single person receiving this program would be in shock of how much useful information is in it. So I know that it's not the product itself that I was, like, discouraged by, but it's more so, like, my ability to sell. And I know, like... I didn't want to come off salesy. I didn't want to come off like I wanted to steal people's money. And I guess like those thoughts kind of kept me from really being out there. So I was kind of like I didn't want to piss people off, like I didn't want to, and then what I realized over time is that like, if I am 100% like all in on this product, if I know that this is going to help people, then I wouldn't be doing my job, like fulfilling my life's purpose if I don't promote this, if I don't find the solution, because there's so many people struggling with weight, so many people struggling, with direction, working out. They don't know the answers and they want the answers. So like, what am I to do? Like, if I'm sitting back, like, not promoting this program, then I'm being...
You're doing them a disservice.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So it's my duty to sell. It's my duty to get my name out, to give them this program that will help them. So... that having that mindset really, really helped me promote this, and I just, having that belief.
Where did you get that belief? Sorry to interrupt you, but so was it a specific podcast you heard that on, or because I couldn't agree more, by the way, because you're literally making money by helping others, and it's to their benefit, and what they pay you is going to be less than the value they get, especially in the long run in terms of learning about fitness and getting in the gym and taking their health seriously. Like, you quite literally on some level could be saving their life if there's someone who's really going down a bad habit path. So what was it specifically that turned that belief around in terms of getting into selling and marketing and not having a fear associated with that?
I'd say, it's obviously like a lot of my knowledge is kind of like a compilation of everything that I've learned, but 2 books that really, really, really helped me. One of them, it was called The Millionaire Mind. I forgot who the author is, but pretty much what he did was he broke down every money mindset blueprint that we've adopted since we were a kid. Believe it or not, how we view money actually affects our ability to make money and receive money. And I used to have such bad thoughts of money. Like, I used to think it's evil, that like once I, if I were to earn $1 million, I would be a nasty person. And like, I felt guilty. Like, I hated asking for money. I felt like I would be stealing from people, just asking, them to pay for a program. And then I realized my entire mindset has completely changed. So that book just made me a lot more confident in, knowing like the world is so abundant. There's plenty of money. There's plenty of jobs. There's plenty of amazingness for every single person. There's enough money in this world for everyone to have $1 billion.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure what I heard. And so having that idea that like just because someone else is rich doesn't mean I can't be, and me having money won't do disservice to someone else, because once I have this, I can actually go out and do community service. I can actually influence more people. Having the ability to travel, having the ability to do do other things. So I guess my mindset in the long run is to how can I impact people how can I impact the most people possible?
In a positive way.
I need money. Yeah. I need money for a coach. I need money to travel. I need money to donate. I need money to do all that. So having that mindset as if it's like a spiritual obligation is why I keep going.
That is huge.
You know what I mean?
That
It's
is
so
huge.
much more. It's so much more to it than just having money. Like, I don't care about the material. Like, really don't. I mean, yeah, like, I want to be able to spend money and not worry, you know? Because I've struggled with money my entire life. But I want to reach the point where I'm like, I want to take my entire family to freaking Aruba and pay for it all. You know what I mean? Like, that's my dream because, like, I don't have to worry. I don't have to stress about that. I can focus on good things and not worry about money. You know what I mean?
You're well on your way, for sure. You are well on your way.
Appreciate it.
That whole thing was super impressive. Go
Right?
ahead.
You're a different person. It's blowing my mind.
I know, right?
Oh,
Blowing
yeah.
my mind.
It
No,
really
changed
is.
a lot.
23 years old.
Yeah.
Like, for the listeners, 23.
Yeah.
I was face down in the woods somewhere when I was 23. So pretty impressive. So one thing that I think is important, like a lot of the times you confide in us. You'll text us and say, hey guys, I'm struggling a little bit with the confidence or this. What would you say to somebody who is struggling to find people, like-minded people?
Yeah.
Struggling to find them and get them into their lives. Because Alan, I've told him this 1,000 times, he knows this, he's one of the reasons I have the belief that I have. I hung out with him long enough where I was like, well, I guess I can do it if he can, you know? and even like when you were like, oh, I hired a business coach, you know, it was pretty expensive. And then we came and we were like, no, you did, that's awesome. It seemed like in your mind, you kind of forget like who you are. Like the fact that you are killing it.
Yeah, killing it.
You're killing it.
Yeah.
And you're a different person than you were. How important is it to have people that are like, they pat you on the back and say, Kathryn, you're fine. Like what you're doing is right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how do you find those people?
Ooh.
Because you're moving to Florida. So when you go to Florida, you're going to have to find, you said you want to find empowered women, empowering women.
Yeah.
So how do you plan on doing that?
Whew.
Hate to put you on the
Great
spot.
Great question.
Good question. I guess as someone who's like a strong Christian, like I know if I pray for it, ask for it, and truly want to make friends who will like empower me, I will receive it. Like I think a week before I met you guys, I literally prayed on it. I was like, you know, I need more inspiring friends. And then Alan messaged me. I'm like, oh, hi, see you. And that's why I said yes. Like I was still skeptical about the podcast because I was uncomfortable. But then I'm like, wait, didn't I just pray for it, empowering friends? Oh my gosh, they're from Boston. And that's why I said yes. And now we're like good friends.
And you wanted to be a speaker too. You said you
Exactly.
wanted to speak. So we're like, all right, cool.
And I knew like everything kind of comes together. But if there's one thing that like always, like every time I pray about like making new friends, I always, within 1 week minimum, it happens. You know, so I'm not worried about it. It's more so like, it's not really something I'm concerned about. Like I don't have a hard time making friends. But now that I'm getting busier and busier, now that I really invested a lot of money in a coach, it's going to be hard to time manage. But I know it's possible. It's all a matter of like, you know, I'm going to kind of be forced to make new friends because I'm living in a new place.
Yeah. Which you can tell excites you a bit.
Yeah, I'm so excited.
Good.
And your standards have raised as well.
Yeah.
So like the people you attract and accept into your life will just be higher.
Exactly.
You're going to be a higher caliber person.
Yeah.
They just have to be.
Yeah.
Or they won't mesh with the person you are now. You have leveled up, you know, exponentially.
Oh yeah.
The people in your life are going to see that and they're going to be like, "Oh, okay, I want to be like that. I want to be around people like that."
Yep.
So you're going to attract that.
Like
for sure.
attracts like, and I think you're going to absolutely attract some incredible people out there. Plus, you
Appreciate
talked
it.
about a mastermind that you're considering going to,
Yeah.
which you'll meet a lot of other dream chasers. So
I'll
one
be
of the
so young.
I know, right?
Sorry.
Dropped a water.
Man down.
Are we still good on the levels?
Oh, we're good.
Over there. Audio's good. All gravy. All right, all gravy. So one of the things I like to do is talk about the things that jump off the page while you're talking about and while you're answering these questions. You mentioned when I reached out to you that there was a lot of reasons to do it in terms of wanting to meet new friends that were more inspiring. In terms of we were from Boston, we were chasing our dreams, wanting to be a speaker in the future. Mm-hmm. But you mentioned you were uncomfortable. Now, here we are, 6 or 7 months later, and are you glad that you did that?
I'm kind of confused by your question. Like, glad I.
Yeah.
So-
Don't worry, Kathryn.
Oh,
This
did that-
happens.
Yeah.
This happens every episode. Don't worry.
So
I missed this. I missed this.
I think a lot of people hold themselves back because they're afraid of discomfort.
Yeah.
And so you saw the benefit of coming and doing this podcast with us, and you even set the intention ahead of time, you said in your prayers, of trying to meet new inspiring people.
Yeah.
And then I reached out. But you were uncomfortable with the whole idea at first.
Yeah.
My question, and this is to bring it home for the listeners, is like, are you glad that you faced that discomfort and did it?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I think that's huge. Go ahead.
There's one thing that I've learned. So the entire year last year, I was thinking about starting a business, but I was kind of in a messy situation. You know, I was dealing with a tough breakup. I was like, my family was like moving because we moved out of our house because we were doing like renovations and stuff. So we're living at our grandparents. I was pretty much like, I graduated from college. I had my stuff everywhere. I didn't know where to start. It was a pretty rough place. I was struggling with money, making like $4 an hour, like bad, like really bad.
Wow.
And I realized, like, you know, I aimed more for comfort rather than discomfort. So instead of actually like taking the steps to do something, I kind of just sat back and like went shopping, or I went to the beach, or, you know, did things that just wouldn't really grow me. So chasing a life of comfort only made me way more uncomfortable. So now that I know how that feels, I'm like, all right, well, what if I just, you know, chased discomfort, you know, and, you know, one day, like every day, do something that made me a little more uncomfortable. And then I realized every single day I'd feel so satisfied, so accomplished, even if it's just a small thing, like doing a podcast, or like, you know, doing an extra set at the gym or something like that. Like, I became addicted to that discomfort, and like fear is just, you know, fear doesn't go away.
All right.
It's more so like how to deal with it. And one thing I've learned is that the moment an idea, instinct comes to your mind, you can't dwell on the thoughts. You can't think about it. You have to act before you have time to think. So before I really had time to think, I just said yes. Because I knew if I sat there and really thought about it, I would talk myself out of it. Same thing applies for the gym. If I wait for the good time, I won't go to the gym, because I could find every single excuse not to go.
Interesting.
You can always find excuses. You can find
yeah.
an excuse. This is a great little analogy. I was in Maine for the week with my good friend Matt. Shout out to Matty. Him and his dad were talking about the house that used to be next door to this rental.
Yep.
It was gone. It was at a concrete foundation, right? They were so intrigued that they created this story in their head of how did that house get down? Did it burn down? Did they knock it down? Was it a storm? Was it struck by lightning? Maybe a tree fell on it. And when I realized that, like, the house was not there, so in their mind, they had all this imagination for why it wasn't there.
Yeah.
That's what happens when Alan messages you and says, hey, do you want to be a podcast? You think, I've never been on a podcast before. Yeah. What if they ask me dumb questions? Yeah. What if they're not good interviewers? What if they're weird?
Yeah.
Like, you can...
Oh, wait, they are.
Yeah. Right, we are weird. We are the weirdest. But you can literally play in your mind until anything makes sense.
Yeah.
So make sure, like you said, if somebody asks you something and your first thought is, that sounds great, snap your fingers and do it.
Exactly.
Have to.
Interesting. That's why Mel Robbins has the 5-second rule.
Yes, that's kind of like where I got that habit from.
It's so huge. Yeah.
yeah.
Act your way into feeling rather than feeling your way into action.
Yeah.
I used that this morning when I got out of bed.
Yep.
Actually, yeah.
I've
'cause I
been
didn't get
doing
much
that
sleep.
since I read it.
You did read that book?
Yeah, I did.
Oh, so good, right?
I just finished reading it, but I realized I've been actually applying it months prior to reading it. Like, you know, the podcast and everything. Like, I applied that rule before I even knew that the 5-second rule existed.
Love it.
Another thing about you, you have an online business, right? Your footprint is online. You have a lot going on online. When we first sat down with you, you had 40,000 followers on Instagram. Now you have 140-something thousand. So you have tripled in 6 months.
In terms of your impact.
In terms of your impact. And that, I like the way you put that, because you're not just putting up pictures of you in a thong, or like, you're adding value constantly every day. And on the ride down here, I told Alan, I was like, I looked at her post from last night, and I know that must have taken her 2 hours.
Yeah.
It must have, there was so many codes and this, before I started doing social media, I thought that was easy. And it's not at all. It is a full-time job.
Yep.
It is a full-time job.
Yep.
So I come up to you, I say, Kathryn, I have 40,000 followers.
Yeah.
And I'm super passionate about podcasting. How do I grow my following? What is the best way to grow my following? Good
question. So I think the key things to really think about is to first ask yourself, am I giving my 110% in every single post? You know what I mean? Like, you have to provide value. You have to think of the person viewing your content. Why the heck would they want to follow my page? What value can I give to them? What type of people do I want to attract? And what do they want to see? You know what I mean? Like, I started increasing my workout video content. Started doing a lot of like motivational pep talks, because one of the most common questions I get is, how do you stay motivated? So I'm always searching for answers, always coming up with new ideas to help people. You know what I mean? And, you know, if I post pictures and like, you know, thongs and like, you know, it's going to attract the wrong crowd. And like, I see girls do it. I'm not one to judge at all. They can post whatever the heck they want. But for me, like, I want to target a specific niche. I want to target young women who want to get in shape. I want to help them. So I'm not going to be of service when I post pictures of just me and make it all about me. I have to give them content that will help them, you know? So that was my biggest mindset. Number 2, I just picked up my game in terms of like photo quality and video quality. That was game changer, because it's all marketing. You got to get people in. You know what I mean? If you have a crappy photo, if you like slack off, people won't have a reason to click your picture, your video, or whatever. You know, unless it looks professional, looks like something that will entice them to go to your page. So first, you have to give people what they want to see.
Love it.
You know?
I love the focus on helping others, adding value. When it comes to the practical side of social media, obviously social media has grown tremendously in the last decade. It's not going to stop growing. We're about to have the whole world online, and it's going to jump from 3 billion people online to now 7 billion, or probably more like 6.5, because some people won't have electricity and things like that. It is crazy. But that's where we're headed, right?
Yeah.
And so all businesses need to have some sort of presence on social media if they're business to consumer, to promote their products and to sell value. For you, you went from 40 to 140. So in 6 months, you've tripled your ability to impact people in a positive way, which is a testament to how much value you've added. And my question is, on the day-to-day, like, Kevin and I couldn't possibly fathom the amount of work that you've put into your social media. Just like when people ask me about fitness, it's like, it's very hard to explain what it's really taken, because every day, day in and day out, it's like very hard to explain. So I have a 30-day training program online that I'm going to be launching to explain soup to nuts everything I've done every day, and like the whole philosophy behind it. So in terms of your blueprint, system of success on a day-to-day basis, like, how many hours would you say you put into social media in terms of thinking about it, actually posting, writing, getting the lighting right, like a realistic number? Because I want people to realize, like what Kevin said, like, it is way more than you think.
Oh, yeah.
It is not, I post a picture of my butt and we get likes. Like, it is so...
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to start taking pictures of my butt. I think. Maybe that's what we need to do.
I think that's
the shortcut.
Yeah, the Hyperconscious podcast goes viral. Kevin's butt.
My butt.
We were in the gym with you, and we record you sometimes, and you're very intricate about how we go about it with lighting, and you teach us a lot. Can we talk a little on that?
So I guess during my initial stages, when I first started posting, I would spend probably like, I mean, Instagram is always, always, always on my mind. It's 24/7, always on my mind, because that's like where I'm going to generate my business from. Obviously, it's not always going to be on Instagram. I'm going to segue into other outlets, I guess, like YouTube later on. But I know, like, Instagram, I'm very good with writing. I'm very good with, you know, I guess I can present myself well, like through Instagram. I can show my best self through Instagram. So that's been on my mind 24/7, but actually creating content, minimum an hour. Minimum. I'm talking like writing a good caption that will provide value.
Yep.
Making sure your photo editing so that it's bright, so that it matches your theme. Like, it's, I'm not talking Photoshop. I'm talking just making sure it's just not fuzzy, making sure that it pops. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And just thinking of like ways to just a new way to change things up. So every single day I make one tweak. Maybe I'll change the location. Maybe I'll change one hashtag. Maybe I'll try this type of post. You know, I've been through every single trial and error to get to where I am, and now I know what works. So now my focus is on more so like, more so on captions. Because I know, like, I'm posting stuff that people want to see. You know what I mean? Like, people love workout videos and they love motivation. It's all a matter of, like, you know, so minimum hour. Absolutely.
No kidding. And that's just the post itself, or do you mean getting the video and all of that stuff as well? Like everything in terms of how much you think about it. So 24/7 is how much you think about it. I want that to jump off the page for people too, because it's got to be constantly on your mind. Because how do you balance that with your fitness goals and your financial goals and your relationships and you know all this other stuff? It's like it's such a big part of your business and your growth and your future, but it's like a 24-hour thing on your mind.
Yeah.
How do you balance that with life? And I also feel you, by the way, because we obviously are in this arena as well, so we relate very strongly to this.
Obviously, if I'm like with family and stuff, like rare occasions I go out with friends, I'm not going to be thinking about it. I'm not going to be on social media. I'm just saying, like, most of the time, like I'm an introverted extrovert, so I love being alone throughout the week. Like, I love working by myself, no distractions. But on the weekends, I love relaxing and being with friends. So, like, obviously, you need those days.
Love it.
But for me, it's like having a fun social outing or doing something fun, you know, once every 2 weeks is plenty for me. You know, I love...
Interesting.
I mean, a lot of people think I'm, like, super crazy outgoing and everything. And, like, I can be outgoing when I want to be. But I get most of my energy when I'm alone, just working towards something. If that makes sense.
No, I'm very similar. I don't like going out at all. Yeah. I like to do the things that I want to lift. I want to podcast. Exactly. I want to box. That's about it. I don't really care about much else, honestly. That's the way I am. So I totally feel you on that.
Exactly. But I know that once I find like friends in Florida that do what I do, you know, obviously it's not going to be. I'm not going to feel set back when I go out because I know that that's where we're going to talk about Instagram, growing a business, doing all that stuff. So that's my goal, is to find people like that. But it's hard because every time I do go out, every time I do decide to go to a bar with some friends, the next day I feel very behind. One day of just getting off track it's like mayhem. It kind of, you know. I
think that comes with the more you do it, the more balanced you become, the better at your business you become, the more you realize, like, going out on Friday is not the end of the world. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Just make sure you take care of your shit during the week. Exactly. Make sure everything's taken care of. Exactly. You know, and then you get to treat yourself. Okay, I get to go out tonight because I took care. I crushed this week. I crushed it.
Yeah.
It's a dangerous game to make, you know, you shouldn't have your pleasure time. You shouldn't have to earn it necessarily, but that's very much how I am.
Exactly.
I kind of like to, how easy is it to lay your head down after you've worked 13 hours? Like, oh, that was a good day. I crushed it today. I'm going to go to bed. Yeah. As opposed to, like, when you just dick around all day, you're like, oh, jeez. Mm-hmm. Then you're just laying in bed thinking about what you should have done. Yeah. So I support that.
Yeah. And I used to take way too many vacation breaks. And, like, even this summer, I feel like I could have, you know, like, looking back at my old statuses, like, for the past 2 months, I've, like, almost every weekend, I've, like, drank or, like, gone out with my family, actually. Like, my family loves to drink. And so, like, every time I would write a caption, I'm like, oh, like, setbacks happen, you know, like, just make sure you have a good week. And then I just, like, it happens every single week. I'm like, all right, I don't need a vacation time, you know what I mean? Like, I feel my best. I thrive when I'm working hard and when I'm working towards a goal. So, like, I think once I have more certainty, once I have more structure, then I can, like, include more, like, fun days, I guess.
So we were talking on the ride down here, and there always is, no matter how successful you become, there always is the next thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right? Like, no matter what, there's always the next thing.
Of course.
So your first program was your thing. Or quitting your job, realistically, was your first thing.
Yeah. Making
your program. Right? So, like, every time, was there ever a time where you were just like, okay, this program is going to be it? Like, this is going to, boom, I'm going to launch this thing. I'm going to be viral. This is it. Like, this is going to be the jumping point where everything takes off. Mm-hmm. Like, have you ever had that moment where you just thought one thing was going to do it? Or did you realize early on that, like, this is just a constant never-ending
Oh
game.
yeah, I knew early on.
See, I at the very beginning, I thought maybe it's going to happen right away. I thought maybe it's going to happen right away.
There might be other people out there that think that way.
I think it has.
Like
for
I
some
always
people.
say, you're not going to go to the gym once and be fit
Right.
for life.
Yeah.
You know, it's a daily, every day. It's an
Yeah.
everyday thing. Like that's what jumps off the page with you're talking about what you do and what she does. It's like you really do have to be all in, and you feel at your best when you're most productive.
Exactly.
I think we all have a really strong urge to be productive towards something that's important to us,
Exactly.
something that we feel a deep, powerful feeling towards. And I feel like that's what you're talking about. And you feel off when you're not productive
Yeah.
towards those goals and dreams.
Yeah.
That's kind of the darker side, a little bit of a darker side of the dream chasing
Yeah.
thing. It's not dark. I don't know if dark is the right
I
word.
like it. I like
yeah.
that I have that because like I like that. You know, it pushes me.
Yeah.
It's like I'm very like I never really give myself a hard time. If I like slack off, I'll say I'm human, whatever. Like that used to be my mindset. Like I never think punishing thoughts or like I'm horrible. I should shame myself. Like I never had that. But now that I'm like setting bigger goals, that guilt I want because that's gonna push me. I need a push because I'm coaching myself. You know, no one's telling me. I mean. I'm not talking about like my business coach, but I'm saying prior, like I'm literally holding myself accountable. So like I need a little bit of guilt to push me forward, and I like it. Like I need it.
At the holding yourself accountable is huge. At the beginning of this podcast, we talked about how different you are now. Some of the things that are jumping off the page, the way you associate, like you light up when you talk about discomfort now. Mm-hmm. You light up when you talk about giving yourself, you know, a little bit of, you know, pain when you're not being productive. That wasn't always the case, I don't feel like. Like, you know, you used to give yourself more breaks, and like now you light up with all this growth stuff. It's so different. Mm-hmm. It's awesome.
It really, like that's, I don't think you logically understand how much you've grown. And I mean that as the best compliment. I think that, I don't know. I feel like, what do you do for visualization? Like, do you visualize? So, just as an example, I was at the beach in Maine, and I told Matt this. I closed my eyes, and I pretended I was there with my wife. Matt was there with his wife, and that was just our life. We just did whatever we wanted. And I closed my eyes, and I just pictured that. I just imagined it. I literally just, I squeezed my, you know, I flexed, and I just imagined it. Like, that's what's going to happen. What do you do for visualization? Like, do you visualize yourself in a year? Do you visualize, like, your next program doing this? Like, how do you visualize your future?
Recently, I've been doing a lot more visualization because I know, like, power manifestation. It's all, like, science, like, law of attraction. The more you believe it, the more you focus on it. You attract what you focus on.
Yes.
You expand what you focus on.
Yep.
And I'm planning on making like a vision board eventually.
Yeah.
I haven't done it yet, but I know it works. Like it's,
Yeah.
and I used to be like the whole like law of attraction stuff. Like I remember watching a clip or a film or whatever you call it called The Secret.
Oh, yeah, I watched that.
Oh yeah.
Years ago, I was like, what is this BS? Like our brain produces brain. Like I'm like, I thought it was all BS. And then I started listening to more podcasts of like all these successful people, Christians and like, Mother Teresa like applies it. Like all these people have used it, and it's pretty much only successful, like ambitious people who have like used it. I'm like, well, clearly they're doing something right. Clearly this must work. And I guess I like to use the analogy of like plugging in a GPS. So let's say I wanted to go from Boston to California. Putting in that GPS will make it certain that I will get there. No matter what, no matter how many detours I take, no matter how many stops, if I get a flat tire, maybe my trip will take longer than someone else who, you know, goes to California. But the more I focus on it and the more I just keep pushing forward, the faster I'll get there. But I will get there no matter what. And that's how I see it. You know what I mean? I know no matter what happens, I will get there, which is why I hired a business coach, because I'm like, I will get there faster if I hire a business coach, which is why I took that leap.
Interesting.
But if I went on my own, I might take tons of detours. It may take me like 5 times longer.
That is a great analogy.
That is a great analogy. Analogies are life.
And so knowing you'll get there is belief, though.
It's
like
knowing.
you have to have faith
Yeah.
without being able to see it right now that it will happen eventually, and that you know it'll be challenging, but you're going to get there. I think that's absolutely huge.
And it's a universal law. It's not some, you know, it's legit like proven by science that literally like our minds can actually like attract like what we think we actually manifest, and like learning about that science really like changed how I viewed everything. Like we have the ability to control like how our body, what's it called? Neuroplasticity. Like we can literally change like the chemical makeup of like in our bodies. Like
neuroplasticity,
exactly.
Functional, structural, and chemical changes are going on in your brain 24/7, 365.
Exactly.
You've rewired your brain so much since last time we talked.
Oh yeah.
And you were already rewiring it back then. That's what
Yeah.
we want to bring to the listeners is like, we had this conversation 6 months ago, or a similar one, about what you're going through, some of your struggles, your mindset, and like you've leveled up so much through all of your experiences, all the things you've learned since then, all the trial and error. Not to mention, you just said, what you focus on expands. You said those words. What did you say earlier? Instagram is always on my mind, 24/7. That's what's expanded.
Exactly.
So fitness is always on my mind. Always. I'm always, everything I eat, everything I drink, everything I do, I'm always thinking natural fitness. And that's why my fitness goals have expanded. So we got to really start taking a look, all of us, at what we're focusing on a daily basis and make sure that those things are things that we want to expand.
Exactly.
Because if we're focusing on fears and anxieties and things that don't matter in the long run, we have to really reallocate our focus.
And another big thing that I've learned, I actually learned this from Jen Casey's podcast. She's awesome. Highly recommend her. But she mentioned how even if we focus on, like, let's say finance, like being financially successful is our goal. If we focused on getting out of debt, even though it's, you know, it has some like positive connotations, like not being broke, we're focusing our intention on debt.
Yeah.
And instead of focusing on debt, like, and that's how I used to think too. Like I used to focus on getting rid of all my student loans, but my focus was on loans and debt. And because of that, I wasn't financially like expanding.
Yeah.
So I shifted my mind towards having money that will go towards the future and not the past.
Love it.
Everything in the past has already been paid for, done. Now I can think about using this towards a new car. You know what I mean? And that's when the money just started like
flowing in like the salmon to the Capistrano.
It's bizarre. Like money isn't hard to like attain, which is like mind-boggling to me because I used to think you have to work hard to earn money.
Yep.
You know what I mean? It's all about just shifting your mindset, believing, and it's that's it. It just comes. You know what I mean?
You spent a month or two where you said that you every single day listened to some podcast about marketing, selling, and money.
Yeah.
So you think that's what rewired your brain?
Yeah. I mean, Jen Casey, her focus has been on like a lot of mindset, a lot of law of attraction, how your mindset actually keeps you from attaining whatever goal you have. And she kind of trains you into thinking like, okay, the power of visualization, how will this help you manifest what you want?
Okay.
And it's all like, she's helped me build a lot of confidence and like realize, oh my gosh, I've been thinking about this. I'm going to change my mindset in this way. And because of that, because my mind has changed, my behavior has changed. Because my behavior has changed,
The results change. And then the
Exactly.
belief changes.
Exactly.
Oh, it's so huge.
It all starts up here. All of
It is. It really, yeah.
She's living, breathing proof of what the hyperconscious
Right.
mentality is.
Right.
Like being aware of why you're thinking the way you're thinking and then being like, you know what, I'm going to shift that and
Right.
see what happens.
Exactly.
And then trial and error. And here you are.
And if you think of this analogy, so think of like an apple tree.
You stealing my analogy game, girl?
I got that from you.
No.
I think I got that from.
Wasn't
who
me.
was it from?
No, not your analogy.
No, yeah.
Your analogy game.
My analogy.
He's usually the
I
analogy
usually
guy.
just drop analogies. That's really all I'm good
she's
for.
I was like, I got this analogy somewhere.
No,
I
it
just
wasn't me.
forget.
But I will take it.
Something
They
about
help. They help people understand.
sure.
things
They
better.
do so much.
So if you were to think of like an apple tree, let's say the apple tree, like you want more fruit, you want fresher fruit, more apples. If you're focusing on the external, the apples themselves, you know, trying to water the apples, you know, you're not going to expand the fruit, but you need to start at the root, which is like your
That was
internal.
so huge. That was such a good analogy.
Once you shift the internal, the fruit will produce naturally. And so that's why my entire focus has been on how can I develop my internal.
I think Kevin's going to redevelop his analogy game
Right?
after this. She's killing it. That was who was the guest that said if you want to change the fruit, you have to change the root? I think that was Terrence.
Oh, yeah, it was. Yeah, it was Terrence.
I
So-
think I heard this from the Millionaire Mind book.
What was the other book?
Oh, yeah,
By
you
the
said
way,
one
because there
book.
was two books. You said The Millionaire Mind. I wrote that down. There was one
Was
other
it-
book that you said because I asked you a question that was super ambiguous, I apologize, about how you started to change your mind around marketing and
Was it Sell or
selling.
Be Sold? No.
I don't.
Grant Cardone.
Was it a Grant Cardone book?
I think so.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah,
Ooh,
he
all
seems to
these
be
books.
all about mindset when it
he's
comes to
intense.
finances.
He's
Yeah,
awesome.
sell or be sold. I dig it.
We were talking about. I guess I'll just ask the question instead and let you run with it. What do you think now, as opposed to what you thought in the past when people doubt you? When you tell people what you're all about, you're going to be a millionaire by 25, like all these things. What's your thought process? If you tell me that and I say, Kathryn, that's not realistic. What is your thought now? What was your thought 6 months ago?
I know for a fact that if someone, because I'm so firm in the law of attraction, like that it's a science and that it actually works, I know that that's certainty. It's a science. It's proven. You know what I mean? Belief in knowing that you're going to achieve that goal, the very fact that I'm so firm in that belief, I just have no doubts. So like whatever people think, whatever. Like it's a limiting. It's their own limiting thoughts. You know, they don't think that they can achieve it.
So why would they think you can?
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's
You know what I
such a
mean? You guys are
dangerous
so
game.
confident that I'll reach my goal because you know you can do that yourselves.
Yeah.
You know?
That is an interesting point. That's such a good
Exactly.
point.
And I know like all my ambitious friends who may be at my level or maybe lower, or even higher, like they have faith in me because they know they can do that themselves too. You know what I mean?
That's a
Because
good
they all
point.
know the law of attraction. They know that what you think expands and that like
They know it's possible.
exactly.
Yeah.
And I know like I kind of see everyone as starting at like a blank slate. Like some people may come from a more privileged family. Some people may start off more in shape, maybe better looking or whatever. But like, I don't believe in excuses. I think that like you can come from anything, absolutely anything.
I agree. See, I've said that multiple times. We've sat down with next level minds,
Oh, yeah.
and walking out of the room, I'm always like, "Wow, that was next level."
Yeah.
But that's just a person.
Yeah.
She is just a person who was born, who had a childhood, and then decided
Exactly.
one day, "This is what I'm going to do."
Yeah.
This is what I'm going to do. So, yeah, you could be the prettiest, you could be the tallest, you could be whatever. If you don't have the effort, you have drive. You have drive. You can't teach drive.
Exactly.
Or it's hard to teach drive. I'm sure you can. But you have these intangibles that, like,
It was all developed.
Right.
And so I trained my mind
Right.
to think this way. I wasn't always ambitious. I never thought of starting my own business. I was afraid of selling. Like I was more quiet. I was like literally, I used to be super out of shape. I didn't come from a family that's very crazy ambitious. Like you know what I mean? Like this is all like.
That's why our minds are blown so much, is that your mindset around money is so different.
So
you weren't
different.
selling anything back then.
Yeah.
So honestly, like, you've shifted so much since then because you've had, even though you didn't hit your goal, I want everyone to hear that. You literally fell so far short of your first goal. And you were afraid you were going to fall short of it, and you did, and yet you still leveled up to
Yeah.
this point, and you still sold $15,000 worth of programs, more than that since then, and you
Yeah.
said, and you still helped all those people because you were willing to fail forward.
Yeah. Because I know it's like, you know, you can't ever take anything personally. If I fail at something, it's not, I can't blame my intrinsic genetics or whatever. It's all a skill. Everything can be developed. And I know, like, for an example, like, one of my friends is an amazing singer. But she's like, Kathryn, like she's an opera singer now.
Yeah.
But she's like, my voice used to be like Taylor Swift's, but worse. Like she's very poppy. Taylor Swift isn't bad, but I'm saying like Taylor Swift.
I'm going to see her this weekend.
I think she's more famous for her relatability. She writes catchy songs, but you know, like I don't think she's exceptional, crazy exceptional. I think she's gorgeous and everything. But clearly, she knew how to get herself out there. There are plenty of amazing, talented singers out there, but they get discouraged by not being good enough. And like Taylor pushed her way up to the top, and now she's at the top. But like, you know, like you can't take anything personally. Like even me, like when I first started my Instagram page, I didn't start when I was super fit. I was pretty
I know,
small.
right?
I had hardly any muscle. I didn't know how to market. I didn't know how to talk I would ask my friends what to talk about in my captions. Like, I started from the bottom.
And now we here.
Yeah, so
And now
like,
you're crushing it on a podcast, which
I know.
even this, too. Last time you were much less outgoing. You had much less confidence in the things you said. You didn't have as much conviction in the law of attraction and the money stuff especially. Huge. So cool.
Why do you think money is such a taboo topic?
I think a lot of what you hear in the media is full of BS. You know, like that's why like I even decided like no longer watching TV.
No
like,
media.
I stopped watching TV like over 2 years ago. Occasionally I'd watch it if I'm like with my family or something. but,
That
like,
jumps off the page. Please, listeners, everyone hear that. I did that too.
the
It
moment
changes
I watch
you.
one little commercial or
It
one
scares
TV
the
show, I'm
shit
like,
out of you.
that's a lie.
Yep.
That's so negative.
Yep.
And I knew, like, I've been thinking about it back at how I used to think. I'm like, oh my God, I was so mind warped and like.
Have you watched the news for like
Yes.
15 minutes and then I'm like, oh my God, people watch this? I actually get scared for them.
Yeah.
Like, because you're filling your mind with a bunch of junk and then
People think
expecting.
the world is evil and that it's like there's nothing to look forward to. I'm like, I bet there are more.
Wonderful
If not-
things. Ugh.
Like, the world is amazing. Like, it's all a mindset game. Like, you see negativity because that's what you're focusing on. Like, don't you realize that there's literally hundreds and thousands of heroic stories that happen every single day that don't get broadcasted.
That don't get broadcasted. So for everyone listening, the news is based on ratings, and the analogy or the reference that I always go to is if you're driving down the highway and there's an accident, everybody stops and there's bumper-to-bumper traffic. But when there's a beautiful, gorgeous sunset, everybody's just whipping by.
Yeah.
Remember that our brains are afraid of what could kill us. So we are shock value. We look at those things more. So, like, that's what the news is doing. It's startling you. It's not designed to entertain you. It's not designed to make you happy and
Because it's
fulfilled.
none of it we don't need to know.
Yeah,
that
exactly.
someone got their head chopped off in Kansas City. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, it's just going to make you more
how
fearful.
is that gonna help you in your day-to-day life? You know what I mean? Like, it's literally not useful.
Right? Imagine
at all.
hearing that, and then you go to a job you hate. You come home, the news is on again. Like, what?
I know.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
So the inputs that you put into your brain, like you're literally talking here. I've got a page of notes already. Books, podcasts,
Yeah.
law of attraction, science, neuroplasticity. Like you have been training your mind for the last 2 years.
Yeah.
And that is what made the difference. Like,
Yep.
thank you for coming back and making that so clear for everyone because that is the difference. Like, if someone came to me and said, Alan, like, what do I do to start changing my life? The first thing I would say is start exercising your mind and body.
Oh, yeah.
Like, feed your mind and body good things.
Yeah.
Start there. And then you'll be like, oh,
And
now.
it sounds so, like, not admirable. Like, I hate reading. I hate looking at paper. So I use audiobooks, like listening. It's way easier. I can listen to it in the car. I can listen to it while I work out. But it's getting started. It requires the most energy just to start. But then once you realize the benefits, you're going to be like, oh, my gosh, like, this is addicting. And when I hang out with people who are negative and gossip, holy fudge muffins. Like, it's like a night and day difference. I'm like, I start thinking these negative thoughts and like I can catch them like it's like nothing. I'm like, whoa, like that's holding me back. That's going to keep me from, you know, like
living abundantly.
it just rubs off. You become the top 5 people you hang yourself around with and you notice. That's why I'm like, it's better off to isolate myself and listen to inspiring people on the radio or like, not on the radio, on like podcasts and stuff.
Yeah, radio.
Yes.
What radio?
The
That's going to be
moment-
gone.
Yeah. So the moment like negativity pops up, I'm like, no, I block it, positive, and then I feel better. You know
Jim
what I mean?
Rohn quote, he says, stand guard at the door of your mind.
Oh yeah.
And you do that very well. Is that why you spend a lot of time in solitude, you think? One of the reasons,
Yeah.
maybe?
I've always been kind of this way.
Mm.
I just feel good. I'm a thinker. I'm always thinking of like new things and like just I don't know. Yeah, I feel best when I'm just like learning and like you know
Growing.
I like that you're super transparent on social media. Like that, I put a post up on Facebook. It was, I hope your life is as good as your social media makes it look. And that's not from like I'm not trying to be a dick. That's
Yeah.
because in 5 or so years, people are going to grow up not, like if you're born in 5 years, you're going to grow up with social media your entire life.
Yeah.
There are going to be people very shortly who have never experienced life without social media. And they're going to compare their lives to those of others.
Yeah.
And the fact that you're so willing to like I remember last time we were coming here, you got into a car accident the day before, and you posted about how you were just going to stay positive. Yeah, it sucked, but you're not hurt. Your car wasn't totaled, and you were going to stay positive. And I think that's super admirable, and being transparent is super important because everybody, if somebody just listened to this podcast, they'd be like, oh, wow, she's the best life ever. She's the most inspirational. She must be the happiest person ever.
Yeah.
But we all still have down days.
Yeah.
We all have those days where getting out of bed sucks.
People do not
You know,
They're
and
way
I
more behind the scenes.
Yeah,
than, like,
and I commend you for just kind of like allowing people to see, like, look, this is the glitz and glam. Yeah, my life's like this a lot, but it's also like this.
Yeah.
I appreciate that about you.
Yeah.
You're super genuine.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So I often say this, and I want to see if you can relate. My life back when I was doing what I was supposed to do, and I was working in corporate America and not chasing, I didn't really have dreams that were fulfilling that I was chasing, right? And while life was a little bit easier on the day-to-day and less challenging, I feel like I was happy like 20% of the time, and like kind of unfulfilled and unhappy 80%. Now I feel like I've switched that.
Yeah.
Now I feel like 20% of the time, yeah, I'm grinding and struggling and having issues and challenges emotionally, physically, all of that. But 80% of the time, I feel very happy and fulfilled.
Yeah.
Can you relate since you've shifted to having big dreams?
Oh yeah. Like,
Okay.
I still have tons of areas of my life that I'm still working on. Like we're never ending projects, especially if you want to like really make a big impact. Like you have to realize that no matter what stage you're in, you're going to have some area to work on.
Yeah.
Like me, marketing. Me, like I'm not a business genius. Like I'm still, like not in like my ideal shape. I'm very happy, but like I know like there's always going to be areas of improvement. Right now I'm pretty plateauing in terms of my physique. The past few months I haven't made that many changes, also because I haven't been crazy all in.
You've been focused elsewhere.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So when you focus on something, there's going to be an area that you're not going to focus on that's going to kind of hit you, but it's okay. Like, I don't know a single successful person who hasn't struggled, who hasn't had setbacks. Like, it's to think that this person had like a completely linear, that like not a single person in the entire world.
Yeah.
Find me one perfect person.
I've never ever found
No.
it. In all my studies, your adversity that you go through ends up with what you retool for your success.
Exactly.
Like I've studied successful people for years now. I've not found one easy road.
Not a single one.
Not one single
Not a
easy
single
road.
No, because why? We were talking about that on a ride down. Like when you're comfortable, you don't have to get uncomfortable.
Yeah.
You don't. So like the fact that you quitting your job is kind of your way of saying, well, now I have to be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Me not having a job, you not having, there is no other option.
I know.
Success is my only option.
Yeah,
I do not have a
Which
plan
is why,
B.
why I did. I'm like, all right, well, I'm not, I wasn't motivated enough, but I knew if I quit, I'm like, well, oh, shoot.
Right.
Yeah.
Now
Right.
I have to.
Right.
You burnt your boats, so to
Yeah.
speak, so
Burn
you could
your
take
boats,
the
take the
island.
island.
Yeah.
Is there, we're coming up on an hour now, so is there anything that you want to plug? Like, obviously, your social media, your program, everything. Where can people find you? Where can people send their money to?
Help the folk.
So I'm releasing my next 8-week program in September. I don't have an exact date yet, but this is a full body guide. It'll break down everything you need to know, from knowing how many calories to consume based on your activity level, your day-to-day life, your exact like physique goals. So if you want to gain muscle or lose fat, everything is broken down, and you can cater it towards you and your specific goal. I have a detailed workout guide where you get video demos, very detailed description of each exercise, details on recipes, tips on dining out. So pretty much the guide is catered towards how can you incorporate this in your everyday life.
Love it.
How can you make this easy? How can you make this fun? Because fitness should be something that, I want to get you guys addicted to. And all my clients are now addicted. They love it. They love the gym because they realize, oh my gosh, I don't have to eat kale.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, we
like-
had a little bit of donuts before the
Yeah.
podcast.
Oh,
so,
I
yeah.
teach my clients, you can eat a donut and still see progress.
Oh yeah, you can
Eat
actually make the donut
anything.
work for you
Exactly.
once you
So
understand
how-
the game.
Exactly. How can you go out with friends, have a couple drinks at a bar, and still see progress?
Yep.
So that's what my goal is. I also have a Facebook community group that will be linked to that program. But I'm thinking beginning of September. I'll be releasing it, but if you stay tuned to my IG stories at @mini_but_mighty_, I'll give more details. I'm actually starting a YouTube page as well.
Oh yeah. Next
And,
steps.
Yeah, I plan on providing a lot of really good content catered towards people like who just want to get in shape and want to learn more.
A lot more good content because you already
Yeah.
have tons.
More details on like how to train, with good form, like all the stuff that you guys want to know. I'm going to be answering there.
Last thing from me, and then we'll let Alan do whatever he's going to do. If somebody came up to you and said, Kathryn, I have these big dreams, I have these big hopes, I have these big aspirations, but I just can't get started, what advice would you give them?
There is no perfect time to start. You're never going to find a perfect time to start. So that requires you to just take action before you even let it get into your mind. So the moment you have an instinct to do something, get started, because no matter what choice you make, it may not be the right choice, new opportunities will come up. And then you're going to realize, oh my gosh, this will actually, taking this route instead will actually get me closer to my goal. See, I've been like, with my YouTube, I've been actually like struggling deciding if YouTube is the right route, YouTube or IG Live, or if I should focus on just Instagram. But then I realized I'm not going to magically get some answer from God saying, do this. You know what I mean? Like, he's like, take some action, stop being a little like a biatch.
Yeah.
Like that's how I see it. I'm like, all right. So I need to decide. So I decided on YouTube. And I knew that if YouTube wasn't the right decision, a new opportunity would come up. And now I feel more confident about it. And now that's my focus.
Love it.
So it's like, take action. You will be redirected if needed. Just keep your eyes on the end goal.
Love it.
Love it. Plus, you seeked guidance from your coach,
Yeah.
and he agrees with you.
Yeah.
So you got that extra why power.
Yeah.
Someone you believe in and who believes in you, most
Yeah.
importantly. And now you'll take action, and if that isn't the road, you'll pivot.
Yeah.
It's huge.
Did we miss anything we wanted to talk about? I was just hammering questions.
Oh,
because
I was too.
I'm very. It's strange podcasting in the same room that we podcasted in last. Like I'm having
As different people.
all sorts of feels.
Yeah.
Yeah, same room, different.
At our
different
core,
people.
spiritually, we're all the same people, but we've grown so much.
Yeah.
We've learned so much. We've
Yeah.
changed so much. It's huge, man.
Yeah,
It really
it's
is.
different. It's definitely different.
You didn't ask your question because you've already asked
already
it.
asked
what do you
it.
want to accomplish before you
Right.
die is the normal question
Yeah,
for
well,
you.
I know we already sat down with this fine young lady, so
And we already talked about the books. I know your heroes. We know a lot about you. This has been awesome. What Kevin and I, the intention we set was to bring someone on the podcast who has grown a ton and to talk about the way you used to think versus the way you think now, and then what brought you from where you were to where you are now, and then where you're headed in the future. I think we did that.
yeah.
And I think this has been awesome.
Cool.
Ladies and gents, Kathryn is hyperconscious. Being hyperconscious will get you next level results. I mean, if you don't want to be successful, that's fine. But if you do, shift your mindset and you will logistically and legitimately shift your life.
You will.
Very awesome.
And she's living, breathing proof of that.
She is.
Thank you,
I came
Kathryn.
from nothing, guys. I'm telling you. I'm a total ditz. If I can do it, you can do it. I'm telling you. Go back to my old Instagram photos and you'll see.
Yes. You're going to keep those up.
Oh, yeah.
So look, I love that you just said that. Go to @minibutmighty_, right? All one word. And go to the very first posts and then see the transformation. You've grown so much.
Yeah.
Awesome. Absolutely.
Well, ladies and gents, find Kathryn online. And if you're looking to get in shape, she can help you for sure. And if you're just looking to watch her eat cereal, you should follow her and she'll do that as
Watch
well.
my stories.
We are signing off. Thank you for joining us. Another great episode.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Ladies and gents, we hope you enjoyed that episode with Kathryn, Mini But Mighty Nash. Up next, we have another repeat guest, Caroline Zani.
Caroline Zani used to be our middle school health teacher. She has done a whole bunch of things this year. She was on episode 4, which is about 44 episodes ago now, and we want to bring her back on the show and talk about what she's learned this entire year. She's done a lot of traveling. As Kevin mentioned, she's an author. She also just got switched jobs into high school, so I want to pick her brain on the difference between middle school and high school students and creating leaders for the future. It's going to be awesome.
And she also is trying to hook us up with a speech at the high
Oh.
school. So
Yeah, that's exciting as well.
thoughts become things.
Absolutely.
We guys hope you enjoy this episode.
Enjoy.
I just said we guys. You gotta hear it. You gotta hear it.